The Mayberry Investments Limited Virtual Investor Forum has been the standard for investor education in Jamaica for decades, where top financial minds provide comprehensive insight into the market and ideal investment strategies and opportunities for our clients. Celebrating 37 years of excellence in investment banking. The Mayberry Virtual Investor Forum. Investing in Jamaica.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another of our Virtual Investor Forum series. I'm your host, Dan Theok, Senior Vice President of Investment Banking. Today's topic discussion will be on Jamaica Broilers Group Limited, and joining us is none other than its Group President and CEO, Christopher Levy. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, Dan.
Great to have you back as usual.
Awesome.
Chris is among many recurring guests that we have on the program, so he's no stranger to the platform, and we look forward to another productive discussion on the company's results. If you're a fan of the content, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our uploads, and be sure to hit the bell to receive all of our notifications. We publish videos just like this about once a week. Those of us who participated in our trivia on social media, stick around as we'll be giving out a winner's prize at the end of the program. If you're looking to embark on your very first investment journey, take that first step with Mayberry, of course. Follow us on social media today to get started. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest, Mr. Christopher Levy. He's highly regarded as an astute corporate leader in the agricultural and production industries. He's the Group President and CEO of Jamaica Broilers Group Limited since 2009. His scope of leadership has grown exponentially with the acquisition of several significant assets, including over in the U.S. He's passionate about nation building. He's been invested in several and significant philanthropic pursuits in support of education, sports, and the indigent, community, and social empowerment. In 2021, he was conferred the National Honor of Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander Class for his contribution to the development of Jamaica's agribusiness as well as community service. In 2021, his appointment to the chairman of the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority places him in a position to impact the way forward for Jamaica in a critical time in our global history. He also serves as the director of Jamaica Broilers Group Foundation, Caribbean Poultry Association, German Ship Repair Jamaica Limited, Solarfield Outreach Foundation, Stony Brook School of Trustees in New York, USA, and the Global Orphan Project, which touches the lives of children across 11 countries, including Haiti. As a follower of Christ, Chris attributes his success to his abiding trust and faith in the Lord's guidance. He's married to Sarah. Isn't it Sally? Sally's official name?
Her real name is Sarah.
I've known Sally as Sally for all of these years. So he's married.
Everybody knows her as Sally.
I just wanted to make sure you didn't switch on me. And
No such thing.
We would not have that. So he's married to Sally. I'm going to say there Sally, guys.
Sally.
And together they have 3 children: Josephine, Austin, and Morgan. Yeah. He has a BSc degree in business management from the University of Miami, USA, as well as a master's degree in business administration from Regent University in Virginia Beach, USA. He also successfully completed his executive management program at the Harvard Business School. Okay, so welcome again, Chris.
Great to see you, Dan.
I had to pause when I didn't see Sally. I'm sorry, guys.
I'll bring Sally next time.
I've known Chris for many, many years. We've fished in quite a few tournaments.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Please give my regards to your dad, Robert Levy. It's basically a family-run business, and certainly one of my favorites. So we want to talk about the results for the first quarter ended July 27, 2024. Year end was essentially April 30th, and they had a fantastic year end, $6 billion in profits, perhaps the
strong year.
Best year I've ever seen. Did include $2.2 billion one-off gain from the sale of your one of the hatchery businesses in the U.S., and we'll talk about that further in the program. So just bear that in mind, guys. We're coming off of a $6 billion year, and so here are the first quarter results coming off of their best year ever. Okay, revenues for the first quarter were flat at $23.4 billion. Cost of sales jumped by about 1.4% to $16 billion, and as a result, the gross profit dipped a little bit by about 3% to $5.5 billion. Distribution costs were also up by 2% to $737 million. Admin expenses were relatively flat at $2.9 billion, and so that resulted in an operating profit of $1.94 billion compared to $2.2 billion the year before, which was a 13% dip. Finance costs were relatively flat at $653 million, and then he had a profit before taxation of $1.31 billion, decline of 20% compared to the previous year. The profit attributable to actual shareholders was $1.1 billion, a 12% decline from $1.2 billion the year before. And he had total comprehensive income of $1.1 billion. EPS for the quarter was 91 cents, again down by 12%, similar to the profit attributable to shareholders. Total assets up by 13% to a whopping $89.3 billion. So, Chris, I think you'll be over the $100 billion mark within the next year or two. So that'll be quite notable. Total liabilities only grew by 10% compared to the 13% growth in total assets. And shareholders' equity grew by a whopping 19% to $31.9 billion, a growth by over $5 billion compared to the previous year. Mm-hmm. Things to note, $3 billion in cash. Business has about $30 billion in debt, so it takes a bit of debt to run the business, but it's generating great cash flows, great profitability, and the debt metrics are all within reasonable expectation, like sort of debt to total cap of about 53%, so roughly 50-50 debt to equity ratio. And so I think the business has a healthy level of debt. Looking at the share price and key statistics metrics, we can see the current share price is $31.76 with trailing earnings of $5.95 billion, which translates into a PE ratio of 6.4 times. The stock is trading relatively cheap to the main market average, which is about 10 times. So it's trading at about 35% discount to the main market. And with interest rates trending down, we just saw a 50 basis points clip in the Fed's rates. Plus, this week's auction, 30-day CD auction, was also down to 6.8% in Jamaica. It was at 10% only 2 months ago, and we've seen 8 weeks consistently of the Jamaican 30-day CD rates coming down. I fully expect that we're going to see a lot more activity in the stock market. And there are, some large players like National Insurance Fund, who we believe have about $20 billion in cash, and they'll definitely be looking to invest in the stock market, in our opinion, to keep their equities levels at a reasonable level. And I suppose that's why on Friday gone, we saw them making a $4 billion play, buying 5% more into Wisynco. And I expect to see a lot more of that happening, to see a lot more folks shifting from fixed income into equities because the interest rates have come down so low at 6.8%. I expect those rates to probably bottom out at about 6% of the next month. They would barely be covering inflation and would therefore want to shift their investments from fixed income into equities. And when we're talking about fixed income, there's like $120 billion on GOJ 30-day CDs, Bank of Jamaica 30-day CDs, maybe 120, 130 billion. And then on the longer tenures up to say 1 year, maybe another $100 billion. So there's over $200 billion in fixed income. And I would guess easily 30 billion of that will be looking to shift and find its home in equities. So I think great things to come. Jamaica Brothers Group definitely is one of the blue chips that you'd want to have in your portfolio, and it's trading cheaply at 6.4 times. I expect this to adjust itself to 10 times within the next 3 to 4 months, which means the stock price should be increasing by about 35% or $10 in my opinion. And with a market cap of $38 billion, it's the type of stock that you could buy, $500 million worth, $100 million worth. So, hint to NIF, maybe you should be looking at JBG. Looking on the next slide, I want to look at the quarterly performance, and you can see this is the 5th consecutive quarter of them doing more than $1 billion in the quarter. That 2.2 billion Q4 quarter included the sale of international poultry breeders in the U.S. We'll talk a little bit about that, one of the hatcheries which they sold in the U.S. We'll definitely be talking about that when we get into the Q&A segment. Next slide, I'd like to look at the stock price movement, and we can see the stock price is being as high as $38, $40 in the last 52 week, and so now it's down to $31. So it's really reasonably cheap, both from a technical point of view and also from a fundamental perspective. So I definitely like it and would recommend to you guys to go out and get yourself some JBG. And I'm sure by the time we've finished our discussions with Mr. Levy, you'll agree with me. So great. So that's it for the analysis on the numbers. Do want to remind you guys to feel free to send your questions in online. Closer to the end of the program, we'll have a segment where we take your questions as well. So feel free to start queuing up from now. So Mr. Levy, first one from me is, okay, so you did that sale in the U.S. last year. We see U.S. segments generally doing better. What's happening with the U.S. operations, and what's your expectations and outlook for that business?
Yeah, well, Dan, great to be here again, and you know, we're great fans of Mayberry, and congrats to you and the team and all the folks here that just make this happen so good. The U.S. last year was a very difficult year in the market, and as we went through the year, we decided to really focus on the meat business and the fertile egg business.
Okay.
And what we found is that we got an offer, honestly, that we couldn't refuse on one of our hatcheries. And it actually aligned very well with our strategy to concentrate on the meat business there. So we pulled the trigger on it, and really what you're seeing is a gain on sale.
Yeah.
Of that sale. The business there continues to be well supported, and I would tell you, well, the opportunities there are incredible. You know, the U.S. is a huge market, and the brand is really taking traction, and we are very excited about where this can go, quite frankly, for our organization. The opportunities continue in the meat. I think the fertile egg business is mature. The marginal growth there will be more organic, and but the meat business and servicing customers across the United States is just exciting to see and be a part of, you know.
How is that been going for you? So you're actually rolling out your Best Dressed Chicken brand in North America. How is that being received?
It's been great. The Best Dressed Chicken brand has really taken its own space in a lot of ways, and the consumers and the customers actually do a lot of research into the brand, and they love the story. You know, when you go to a supermarket, they might have 10 different suppliers presenting chicken, and they might put 3 on the shelves. And what happens is they're going to look at a lot of things in terms of days since kill, storage, boxing, temperature arrival, just quality of cut, those sort of things. And every time we presented our product, it's just been accepted. So we kind of been very deliberate in terms of our customers and our approaches. Because you have a customer and they will have 2,000 stores, and that's a small retailer.
Right. Wow.
And when you start looking at 2,000 stores, then you're so heavy in that customer that you just don't want to be that committed in that, you know, to one customer.
Right.
So we're working a lot in South Florida, Milo's and a couple other supermarkets there, and it's hard to remember all of the names of the customers, but it's quite exciting. Quite exciting.
Good. So let's talk about Jamaica for a bit. So when we talked about the segment results for Jamaica, you were down a little bit for the last period. Can you explain a little bit about what's happening in Jamaica and how you're feeling about it?
When we look at it, the Hurricane Beryl came through, and it was a very unusual hurricane, and it impacted us in 3 ways.
Okay.
The first way it impacted is what you're seeing here in the first quarter, where we really lost days of sale. In other words, we never sold any product really for about a week.
Right.
And that's what you're seeing at the top line there, more than anything else. The corresponding impact was also on Hypro, because the small farmers and what I'd call the farmers in general got hammered down in St. Elizabeth. As we know, they took the brunt down there.
Yeah.
And small farmers, which represent about 30% of the production in the country, got hit really hard. And when time comes to get back on the feet, they're going to look after their homes and family first, and then into their small chicken homes,
Right, right.
chicken houses. The third area is that when you have a storm like this that goes through, it literally traumatizes the birds and they stop eating and they back off on feed, and you just get you get a real challenge in live production. We had chicken farms on generators for a week.
Right, right.
And what you find is you just don't get the live bird performance as in normal times. And those are the three things that I think are going to hit us. You see it in quarter one here.
Right, right.
I think we're going to see some of the impact in quarter two as well. But things are good. In other words, where we are now, we're seeing the small farmers come back amazingly, especially coming into Christmas. Birds, you know, they're cycling through, and we're seeing growth rates and performances improve. So we feel very positive, quite frankly, for the year.
Right,
I think
right.
quarter two might be a little challenged. It's a little early to tell, but from what we're seeing, I think it's going to be a little challenge. But I do feel very confident as we move through the year. You know.
And remind me, the cycle for the birds, is it 6 weeks?
About 6 weeks.
About 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So it really is a short cycle. And so when you're interrupted by a week or so, that
Oh
can
my gosh!
have
And what happens honestly is, you know, it's not that you just there are no sales.
Right.
The supermarkets aren't open, or the restaurants aren't open, or you know, and the whole thing just kind of pauses with this hurricane. It was quite a different experience, this one.
Yeah, you know, I was speaking to Minister Green, and he was saying, you know, a lot of people in St. Elizabeth experienced, you know, more damage than Hurricane Gilbert. So to put it into perspective, he was saying,
No,
as far as St. Elizabeth was concerned, this was worse
it
than
was.
Hurricane Gilbert.
Dan, let me tell you, the impact of the hurricane is, I think, it's very difficult to assess it because it's so localized in certain areas and so devastating.
Yeah.
Where you look in Kingston and people are like, well, what really happened? There's just a nice little rainy day and night and kind of everything was cool. Meanwhile, down in St. Elizabeth, people are down there hanging on for their life.
Yeah.
And it impacts farming in that way. And to be quite frank, the Minister of Agriculture understands that. He's from that area.
Yes, yeah.
And I think he has been very supportive of the industry. And here I'm not just talking about poultry industry.
Right,
I'm talking about everything from scallion to thyme and tomatoes and onions and all of that grows down in our breadbasket. And I think himself and the ministry in general have done a great job in terms of assessing and also, all right, how do we deal with this in terms of getting these farmers and this production back up. There are no easy answers, you know. When somebody's farm is wiped out, it's a very difficult process to get them back on their feet. But I think without a doubt, the minister has been very, very astute in his approach here.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And to be clear, you experienced no damage yourself to your assets.
No, our physical assets were amazing. I mean, we lost power at a lot of farms.
Right.
But what I would call the actual physical assets, it was a non-event.
Right.
As hard as that is to say in our context,
Correct,
you know.
correct. And whether to your inventory or your biological assets, again, you had
nothing. It was
issues.
But then when people don't buy chicken,
that just slows up the sales. You lose a week or two of sales, and that's significant.
And that has an impact.
A quarter's only 12 weeks, so if you lose a week, you
but
lose
it always,
9%.
you know, it ebbs and flows a little bit, especially with a storm like this. But I think the real testimony of the poultry industry and the resilience of it is we see the small farmers. Because remember, that's 30% of the production of the country.
Comes from small farmers.
Right? And when they get the kind of hit that they have been dealt and rebound and reinvest and get themselves back established, it talks to the resilience of the industry.
Yeah.
And also the profitability, because if it wasn't profitable, then they wouldn't be reinvested. Sorry, let me go plant carrot, you know, kind of thing.
Yes. So, I mean, this is really a cash crop when you're saying it's 6 weeks from them getting the deal
it's a great annuity
to selling the product back to you. it's a great innovation, and I remember very clearly, even in my JPS days, when you advocated to helping these guys access cheaper energy to be able to do the chicken coops. And a modern day chicken coop, it's quite something to see, folks. If you haven't seen a 50,000 chicken coop before, it's quite a thing to see. So kudos to what you did in that regard, Chris, and you were a strong advocate for supporting.
Good team. I'm not kidding you. Great team. Been blessed.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about cost management. So we've seen, some squeeze on the margins in the quarter and stuff like that. Is it more the sales dropping off more than
and you
else?
see, let me tell you, it's funny. We're looking at it, and it wasn't that our production fell off. So we produce the goods and didn't sell them, so your cost of sales rise.
Right.
It's product in inventory.
Correct.
And so that will work itself through in terms of
the next quarter or two.
Yeah. I think Hypro is going to be. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be good.
Right.
But I don't think they'll be 20% above last year, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I think they're going to be pretty flat year over year, maybe a touch ahead. But again, that's straight into the small farmer base, just rebuilding and reestablishing themselves. And, we sell a lot of seed and a lot of fertilizer and that sort of stuff to farmers. By the time they get into the ground and get that cycle going, it's weeks and months out. And everybody is getting organized really to try and hit the market around November coming into Christmas. So there's a lot of energy and effort going into the ground right now.
Good deal.
So it's good.
So let's talk about future quarters coming up. I mean, what are your expectations?
Like I said,
what initiatives and what
I think quarter two, Dan, I think is going to be a little challenge. I don't think it's going to be a rip-roaring quarter.
Right.
I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
But I do think our financial year looks positive.
Still looks positive.
And looks. I'm very confident about that. Good. I have to be careful what I say in this environment.
Understood.
But I will tell you every day of the week, twice on Sunday, broilers is always a buy.
No, I listen at a 6.4 times PE. I'm gonna keep.
Yeah, I should be asking you what's going on with the stock market.
And I really do think the market's gonna pick up in the next 1-2 quarters. There's no doubt that we have clientele looking for good stock selections to buy. Sure. And, I started focused on saying, look for folks who are market leaders in their space, good industries, great track record, great prospects for the future. And, JBG broilers just fits that bill so well.
And I do feel, as I mentioned a little while ago, I feel a good stock market is such a powerful motivator in a country. It impacts so many people in their pocketbook that, I think it will be a breath of fresh air to have a good, strong, growing, vibrant stock market.
Absolutely. And it's great to have good quality, businesses on the market because I know you're a humble guy, but there's no doubt the Levy family didn't have to have this business listed, you know what I mean? So it's great to see you guys doing this, giving back, giving ordinary folks an opportunity to have ownership in a great business because you have competitors, not going to call no name, who never come into the market because those businesses are profitable. And
maybe they're shareholders too, I don't know.
You welcome them all, right?
Welcome them all.
I have no doubt
we have 15,000 or 16,000 shareholders,
That's
it's
impressive.
Crazy.
15,000
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's impressive.
But what a blessing, Not a blessing.
Absolutely. And all of the big pension funds, typically are invested. I forgot to declare our conflict. Mayberry is a top 10 show, although we own a small TUPS. I don't think it's a big
welcome
position,
aboard.
But still happy to be top 10 and to be supporting the business in any way we can. But I do think it's a great business. Let's talk a little bit about tourism. So we saw during COVID, tourism fell off. It impacted your sales. Now it looks to me like tourism is really setting to boom. 5,000 hotel rooms coming on board in the next 2-3 years. Is that something that you guys are likely to benefit from?
I think, as you mentioned in the intro, we're the chairman of Jamaica Economic Zone Authority.
Yes.
And I'm blessed to be there because I kind of see all the investments coming into the country, and it's exciting, to be quite frank. I think tourism is in a very, very good position. I think that we're in a space where we can have a real bumper season in terms of just arrivals and visitors and their investment. And I think some of the rate cut that we're seeing on the Fed side allows will play into that as
Absolutely.
well. There is a lot of construction taking place on the tourism side, and we need to bear in mind it's not just hotel rooms, it's the spin-off businesses that take place, everything from the taxi man to the rafter.
Yeah.
The man who pushing the raft, you know, jerk chicken man, all of these spin-off businesses that take place have deep impact in our economy. And I think it's very exciting to see the investment that's taking place there. And I think that it's also in the villas.
Yeah.
A lot of times we overlook the villa as important as a player in this, but the villa business is quite exciting as well. And we're seeing the growth and development there. And that's deep investment in our country, which is good. You know?
And for JBG, again, we love chicken in Jamaica. So again, as tourism grows, we're going to see those tourists consume more meat than we do as Jamaicans, by the way.
And let me tell you, a good economy is good for everybody.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest about it.
Right.
You eat more chicken, you buy more car, you buy more shares, you build more house, you do this, you do that, your business expands. And I think what has happened in the economy over the last few years, we've proved to everyone that we can run a good economy as a nation, as a people. I think we have proved that we can have a good economy and a stable dollar.
Yeah.
I think a devaluing dollar is a shot to the brain every time.
Yeah.
And I feel that it builds confidence in our business sector and in people to invest and grow. And I think that's where we need to look at. I think one area, again, putting on my economic zone hat, that I feel from a Jamaica perspective is this: we need to recognize the importance of export and developing businesses, no matter how small, to export. And we've really put that in play in Jamaica Brothers with Best Rest Chicken. We export roughly about 8 to 10% of our production through the Caribbean, and it's further processed products, chicken nuggets, breaded batter chicken, this sort of thing, all through the Caribbean and Cayman and it's become a significant part of our business. But a few years ago, when we looked at it, okay, it was one trailer a month, and you're like, well, it's so small, it doesn't move our needle. Why are we bothering with it? What's the investment? It's a lot of investment. Who is going to ask all these questions? Then we said we're going to really push on this, and it has become a line item on our sales and profit report.
Excellent.
You know, so don't despise small beginnings, because that's where it always starts. It always starts small, and you know, I want to encourage people to invest and grow and export. The markets are there. You've just got to get out there and do it.
Yeah,
so,
balance of payments is a huge, concern for the country fundamentally, and it's another reason why I like Jamaica Brothers, because you guys are earning what percentage of your revenues overseas now? Is it 40%?
Basically, about 40% of our revenue and roughly 30% of our profits, you know, and I think that's going to continue to.
It's only going to get better, right?
Yeah, it's just going to continue to head north.
The growth potential in North America,
it's incredible.
Is substantially higher.
And let me tell you, Jamaica, we mentioned about debt again in intro, and with this business, it is capital intensive. It's one of the hurdles of the business. But more than anything else, the debt steps with growth.
Right.
You know, and then you kind of get your assets back in line, you get your cash flow back in line, and then you're ready for the next step.
Yes.
You know, because it's so capital intensive, both on working capital side and on fixed assets.
Right.
And the thing is that it is that's what we're positioning the company for the growth. Next step.
Absolutely. No, I like it. So, I think you're well positioned in the market. It's great to see what you've achieved in the last 5-7 years in North America now, and kudos to Steve and your brother who's over there busting his butt to make sure it happens.
He's on point and doing a good job.
Excellent. So I like it from that perspective. You guys I'm going to guess in the next 3 to 5 years will probably be more like 50-50 in terms of revenues from North America overseas.
I think that's a reasonable estimate. Remember, we're a small player
in North
in a
America.
very big,
Yeah.
aggressive market.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things we've had to learn up there is that we're a guest in the country. You know, yeah, we might have business and own assets and this and that and the other, but we get into these small communities and we're guests. These rural communities, and it's important to understand that the industry is very mature and very, very big, and the checkbooks in the industry are huge.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we have to be very deliberate in our steps and very, very wise in the opportunities that we take, because you really are a small player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It might be meaningful to us here as a company or in Jamaica, but in the scheme of things, we're very small.
No, I agree.
You know,
but I like the fact that you're still building value. So even in the case of
Absolutely.
international poultry breeders, you ran that for 5-7 years. You saw opportunity to sell it, make a good gain. You sold it, made a gain, and keep moving, right?
Keep moving.
So,
And it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, doing business in America is different than when you go and sit down and you go to the mall and eat food and walk around and this and that and the other. When you kind of get into the business environment there, it's a whole different. It's very, very fast, very unforgiving,
heavily regulated, I'm sure. Right?
regulated. You know, you have to know how to navigate that.
Yes.
And then, you know, there's a lot of different issues that we don't face in Jamaica here. You know, regulation there and regulation in Jamaica is two different things. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
but it's, you know, once you learn to navigate it, and like anything else, then, you know, you can work in that space.
Let's talk a little bit about, you know, the jobs you create, what you mean to the economy, and something I like to call comparative advantage. So, you know, over the years gone by, we have seen times when people have imported cheap chicken out of North America, which is heavily subsidized.
Yeah.
And I've heard people complain about, oh, chicken is expensive in Jamaica, without understanding the full benefits of having a fully integrated business such as yourself in Jamaica that creates the jobs and does all of these other benefits for the country. And then it's completely transparent with your financial statements for the whole world to see, you know, what we do. Let's just talk a little bit about that, because, you know, I've heard, you know, I'm going to say uneducated folks, but folks who don't fully understand the value you bring, talking about, boy, it would be better we just import the cheap chicken from the U.S. Your thoughts on that?
I think, Dan, it's, let me put it this way. I think a country has to make its decisions around a couple of factors. We're a small country, and we're price takers in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
On the energy side of things,
Absolutely,
we're a huge price taker. You know, I think the one industry that we are, what I would call, somewhat competitive in is the tourism industry, and that's why it's our number one industry. For the agriculture and feeding our nation, the first and foremost reason to have production here is food security.
Absolutely.
The reality of the world is totally different today than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The second thing, you know, folks who talk about, well, let's import chicken and be cheaper. Yeah, it might be cheaper today, but you want me to tell you, the demand for foreign exchange in the country for poultry meat consumption would double. So in other words, if we're Jamaica is spending $1 US to produce a pound of chicken, it's going to cost the consumer $2 US, because now you're importing a finished product. So I think there's that. There's also the fact that you have roughly 200,000 small farmers in the market, in the production across. That's 30% of our production.
Wow.
And if you go online to our online platforms, you'll see a whole bunch of what we're calling My Chicken Story. And it talks about the impact that these small farmers are having in their community. And we've never done this before. And when we started to do these stories and see them, it was eye-opening for us to see how every one of them mentioned the impact they're having in their community. We're trying to assess the value of that right now, because we realize how deep the industry is. So that's an important factor. We have all the technicians and all the folks that, you know, it's roughly around 6,000 people by the time you put veterinarians and all the truck drivers and everybody in there between everybody. So I think we need to recognize the backbone of the agricultural sector, of the livestock sector, is poultry.
Yeah.
If poultry goes, we won't have any livestock in Jamaica. You'll have people raising some goat because they're feeding them on grass, but you won't have any egg industry.
Right.
You won't have any pork industry. You won't have any sort of layer industry in terms of table eggs. And quite frankly, table eggs, poultry, pork, all of that we're fully self-sustained with.
Yeah.
So we need to be very wise and strategic in our decisions.
Right.
You know, the thing is, there are examples in history as well. Years ago, we had a very vibrant dairy industry, and the tariffs were removed off of dairy over a milk powder. We could get milk powder cheap from New Zealand and this and that and the other.
Killed the
and
dairy industry.
Dairy industry went down the tubes.
Killed it.
Boom. Milk powder price quadrupled and then wasn't available. And all of a sudden, you're like, hold on a little bit, what's going on here? This is not part of the plan. And from that day forth, we've tried to rebuild this dairy industry, and it's a long, hard road.
Agreed.
The other thing to bear in mind is that, again, I come back to the point that we are a very small country. And we're 3 million people. And you need to understand, these companies are going to look and say, okay, tariffs come off. I can sell them chicken at any price I want to because they have to buy.
Yeah, yeah.
They have to buy. And at that point, we then become a price taker for food. We're already a price taker for energy, but now we become a price taker for food. And we need to think these things through very, very carefully. The impacts are long-term and deep. So I'd say, yeah, it's a nice, you always want to evaluate where you are. As a nation, you want to evaluate where you are in terms of the strategy of the country and what we advocate for. But I'll tell you, when you start getting into these broader issues of food and food security, we're playing with fire.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And you make a great point about, you know, poultry being the heart of the industry. It's kind of like a farmer wants to have cash crops and then the longer crops. And when
That's
you have
right.
poultry with a 6-week turnover compared to cows 2 years and pigs 9 months, whatever, it's clear to me that this is the cash cow, so to speak.
And
for the
let me tell you
farmers.
this, on the banking side and the finance side, the banks and DBJ and folks in that sector have just been really supportive of the industry with the farmers. Because a chicken house, a modern chicken house nowadays is a big investment.
Yeah, can run you $10 million in a hurry.
That's right. And the default rate on it is 0. Your default rate on chicken house investment from a financial perspective is 0. And the thing about it is when you look and think, all right, what industry creates that great annuity for an individual that has worked and then wants to just kind of take it easier, and there's an annuity he just is earning every 7 weeks. He earns a paycheck, you know, on his land. So
makes great sense. Okay, so we promised you we would start taking a few questions from social media. I see the questions piling up, so I feel like I'll take 2 or 3.
Take the easy ones.
Yeah, all right, I'm gonna take the easiest one that I wow. This one is interesting. So I'm gonna do Tavares Donaldson first because it's a little different than what I expected. But he said, Mr. Levy, what's going on with the availability of chicken parks? Can't get any foot or back.
Oh, I think what you're seeing there in the market really is the reduction in production from the small farmer base. Our production, and I know Caribbean Brothers production is at flat stick. I think you're going to see another week or 2 of this, and then the small farmers are back in play. It takes them a little bit longer because coming out, it took them a little longer to rebuild. But what you're seeing, and it's localized in a lot of ways, but it's really in the country. When I say country, in the more rural areas that you're seeing this what I call small farmer. Again, we didn't realize the community impact that it had, quite frankly.
I'm in Kingston, and I'm telling you, I had no clue. I heard the reports of,
Yeah.
of it in St. Elizabeth, and I was like, whoa, cool. So Tavares, you soon get your chicken foot and chicken back. You hear? Hang on there a little bit.
We're not exporting the chicken foot, don't worry.
Good. Jerome asks, what is the strategy to exponentially increase sales in the U.S.?
Jerome, that's a good question. Like I mentioned, the sales in the US is a step thing. You're gonna make your investments. You're gonna have a certain level of production that we're selling at. For us to materially change that requires an investment, and that's always on our radar. So if just to tell you a thing, all right, basically we're running flat stick full production capacity in the US right now. So for us, we're at the point where we need to make another step in the US.
Great. So if you got an anchor customer to support that,
put an anchor customer together, work it through in terms of that, because again, remember, we're a small player in a big market.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Good deal. Limitless Podcast asks, how has bird flu impacted JPG's operation, if any?
Bird flu, the risk of this business, Limitless, is basically biological. That's one of the big unknown risks that you try and manage as best as you can.
Right.
The bird flu impact is more around what I would call regulation and the movement of goods at this point. We've not had any direct impact in terms of an outbreak or anything, quarantine any birds or anything like that. But it's in especially in the US, the regulation of how people move, how birds move is very, very sensitive. Jamaica has done, and the vet division have done an amazing job in keeping our livestock industry, what we'd call clean. The diseases and what I would call the exposure to different viruses that we see in the US, we don't see and have in Jamaica. That was actually quite a learning curve for us. We're dealing with different biological challenges that we weren't exposed to, quite frankly. But the thing is that they've done an amazing job here in Jamaica. So I think the risk in Jamaica is different than the risk in the US. And how they're handling it in the US more so is around movement of goods, what's the regulations in terms of farms and these sort of things.
Good deal. And follow-up question from Limitless is JBG looking to acquire any other businesses?
I don't think that's a good topic to discuss at this point. I think that the strategy of the US is we do want to continue to grow, and we will discuss and evaluate the opportunities as we come along. And
got it. I hear you loud and clear. So it could be organic or it could be inorganic.
Exactly right.
Growth. You'll just take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves.
Exactly right.
O'Neill Johnson asks a question, and I'm only going to ask it because maybe O'Neill knows something I don't know. But his question is, what's going on in Trinidad?
Goodness, in reference to what, O'Neill? There's a lot going on down there.
But you have no operations in Trinidad.
No, we don't have operations. Let me tell you though, we export a lot to the various industries in Trinidad, whether it's fertile eggs, medications, what I call housing equipment for chicken houses, packaging, all of that sort of stuff. So a lot of these industries through the islands, down even into Guyana, behind the scenes is our trading and the capacity of Jamaica broilers. So for one, I get like methionine. We supply methionine through the Caribbean. That's it's a feed ingredient. The thing is that, unless I'm not sure specifically, but Trinidad, I think, is doing okay. I think the exchange getting money out of Trinidad a little challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe O'Neill can close it up here.
Absolutely.
Ask another question, O'Neill.
School me on fertile eggs again, Chris. The fertile egg business specifically, and your expertise there, and you're exporting and supplying throughout the region. You're also importing, I think, or
what we do. Fertile eggs is a start of the meat business, and we have in Jamaica. We took a decision several years ago that 50% of our production of meat will come from fertile eggs in Jamaica.
Okay, food safety.
So no risks management, because you get a hurricane here, right?
Gotcha.
Then you need 50% replacement.
Got it.
However, flip side there, you get a disease outbreak there, like a bird flu or some other disease in your breeder flocks. Then Jamaica is not held to ransom in that regard.
So it's risk management.
And it served us very well. Okay. And we actually drove it a little further, that we separated our breeder flocks into 3 different areas in the US, again around disease control. Because if you remember, I tell you, the challenge of this business is disease management. So again, that was risk management in that regard, in terms of the fertile eggs.
Got it.
We do export a lot to the Central America, obviously Caribbean, Canada.
Canada.
Then,
interesting.
And then a lot in terms of just internal US sales as well.
Right. At one point in time, I think you said you guys had one of the largest private
we are still
fertile egg.
Yeah, we're the largest private. So
yeah, that's interesting.
There is some organic growth to happen in that segment.
Right.
That I think we'll be working on over the next 18 months. But that's a real long term. That before you see that's 18 months old before you start to see any revenue from that.
Got it. And without saying the obvious, because I think a lot of people may not appreciate this is very different from layer eggs. These are eggs
this is not table eggs
that you guys manage, sell to folks, and you get the
baby
old chicks from it.
That's
that
correct.
Egg has to be produced in a certain way to be what we call a fertile. So just to make that very clear, and you're doing what, 13 million per annum? That's a crazy figure.
We do roughly about, in terms of production, we do about 9 million
fertile eggs a year.
A week.
A week. Oh my God. A week. 9 million eggs a week.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this is definitely a big logistics game. Yeah, crazy.
A lot of moving parts.
Crazy. That is really impressive. Okay, given that
Stephen might correct me.
Stephen might correct you, but yeah, let's Stephen, tell us. But given that Jerome, this might be for me. Let me read the question. Given that JBG is undervalued, would you consider a share buyback program? So I'm gonna take a shot, but I want you to answer that question.
You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Why don't you go first? I can go first.
You go first.
I mean, I don't think it's your business to try to manage your stock float and care significantly about the stock price. I think it's your business to produce chickens. It's my job to try to convince the market that this is an attractive buy. But I don't think I want you redirecting your income or your cash flow towards trying to buy up stock. And you do have to allow at least 20% of the stock to stay out there in the float to continue to be listed on the stock market, as a matter of fact. I think, Jerome, the market's going to correct itself in a matter of 2-3 months. I think people will appreciate the value there, and just the normal supply demand dynamics will get that stock price back into an attractive price. I don't think Mr. Lever or the family are going to lose sleep over whether the stock price is $31 or $45 or $50. I mean, sure, you'd like it to be 50, 60, but that's not what you exist for, right?
No, you can't change that. I think, Jerome, that is something that companies always evaluate. I think the point Dan is making is that you're always competing for capital. You have different projects, different investments that are competing for capital. I think when you see a company making a significant buyback in terms of its shares, there is a strategy change in the company. And the obviously our shareholders would then obviously be very aware of a strategy change. At this point, I don't. We're not going to be putting capital into any share support or anything like that. The market is a market. Do I think the share is undervalued? I think everybody does. But I think that in terms of just the company buying shares here and there is no real strategic shift to say, all right, we're going to buy 40% of the company back in terms of that at this point.
And without throwing any stones, I mean, my comment was specific to JBG and what I know of you guys. I mean, there are shareholders who their life revolve around the stock price because they're heavily leveraged and margined on their stock price. And I know for a fact you guys don't run your shop like that. So it's a good question, Jerome. Not trying to belittle your question.
No, it's a very important. And let me tell you, it's something that we discuss in the company.
Right.
But again, it's a strategic. Anytime a company makes a major buyback, there's a strategic change in the direction of the company, and then you can ask whatever questions you want from there, but it's not something on our radar at this point.
Got it. And then so limitless, you made a comment on it. So they've got $3 billion cash, but they've got $30 billion of debt, and they've got an expansion program, and the business is capital intensive. So so I wouldn't be distracted by the $3 billion cash because he's got $30 billion of debt, and then capex programs he wants to support.
And frankly, $3 billion cash won't move the needle on the shares in terms. You know, we have 1.2 billion shares out there. Less whatever we own.
It might temporarily solve a problem for a month or 2 months.
So that's what I mean by a strategic shift.
Got it.
Now, if I was looking at 30 billion and you start seeing a strategic shift, then there's a strategic shift that takes place.
I agree too. And Tavares Donaldson says, big up to the JBG Foundation. I remember you guys playing a big role in the Springvale Development Foundation.
Yeah. So. We our foundation is becoming quite fun to be a part of. We invest a lot of our resources at the foundation into kingdom building stuff, like Fun in the Sun the other couple of months ago.
Tommy Cohen, that's a great thing you guys
all
do.
of those sort of things, churches, schools, different camps, individuals, that sort of thing. And it's at the size now that I think is meaningful. I'll tell you a quick story. A lot of foundations take the position where what they will do is they will have a capital base, make the investments, and any interest earned or whatever earned is what they will donate.
Right.
We took a decision, we're not going to do that. Any funds that come into the foundation, we're going to donate.
Okay.
You want me to tell you our problem? We can't donate enough.
Okay,
we're out there actively seeking projects that fall within our mandate. And we have people out there looking and thinking, all right, can we invest? We need to invest more.
Right.
And it's just a blessing from the Lord.
That's amazing.
And we took that decision a few years ago at the prompting of Robert Levy, the chairman of the foundation.
Yeah.
And it's just you start giving away the principle. We're all like, well, boss, you sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
He says, yes, that's what we're going to do. I said, all right. Well, when it run out, it run out. It hasn't run out.
Excellent.
It's unbelievable.
So your cup is overflowing.
Cup is overflowing.
Amazing.
Running over.
Great story. And that is just, I think, the blessing of the Lord. And you
absolutely.
I'm really proud that you guys are able to pronounce your faith in the way you do, run your business.
It's our culture, and I mean,
absolutely.
the Lord has been amazing to us and seen us through some difficult times and what I would call some heart-wrenching times. And you know, he has been gracious to us and merciful to us, and I feel a tremendous indebtedness to just try and honor him every opportunity I get. You know.
Excellent. So, and your nation building is noted. I mean, the jobs that you create and the food safety. It's really a company that folks I really really love. I mean, it's, I have some conflicting investments that I make as a Christian, and my wife sometimes reprimands me, why are you buying Carreras? And I'm like, for the dividends,
Yes. I know.
and I don't smoke cigarettes. So this is one where, my heart is
You're passionate about.
Yes, my heart is at peace. I don't have no conflicts with the wife because, we eat chicken. I actually eat what you produce. I do not smoke cigarettes. So yeah, I love the company, and Chris, it's always, a pleasure to have you on the program.
One little programming note before we sent out, somebody asked about biosecurity and bird flu and stuff like that. We sent out a stock exchange notice that we're going to do a AGM in person and stuff like that. And then the vets and the technical people said, boss, we don't want to do that.
Not on the production side.
The risk on having folks that we don't know, we don't have the biosecurity control, and we're all there. It says so we had to
change your site
unwind that and said, listen, we're going to stick with virtual at this point in time, and it's a little change, but we felt prudence was probably the order of the day. So if there's a little mix up on the shareholder side, please understand that. It's really around prudence and what I would call the advisors, technical folks, that we took this different turn.
That makes sense. Well, we look forward to the AGM. When's the date? Do you guys remember?
What's the date, Nick? October 23.
October 23.
Yeah.
Okay, that should be fun.
Yeah.
Well, folks.
So limitless, I look for a question from you.
Come out in person. We look forward to it. Okay, well, now time for the giveaways, folks. We got some giveaways. As promised, we'll now announce the winners. And I'm going to say congratulations to Braids. I can't ever pronounce these. You said it was easy this week. Are you kidding me? Is that showing up on the screen? So Braids something. Gabon 2013.
Braids by Sabrina.
Braids by Sabrina.
There you go.
Better than me. I can't
Congrats,
do that.
Sabrina.
Gabon 2013. Finny Bob.
That looks right.
Viva la France. Oh, that one I can
we know
do.
that one.
And help me with this last one.
Mati Janja.
Mati John J, maybe? J for Jamaica. Congratulations, guys. You know why you have those handles. I can't read them to save my life, but congratulations. Thanks for being a part of the program. Well, folks, that's it for today's discussion. So I'd like to thank our viewers, as usual, for tuning in. Your support is always appreciated. We couldn't do this program without you. And of course, I must give a special big up to Mr. Christopher Levy. Thanks. Say hi to Pops, to Wifey, to brother. Love you guys. Really appreciate your insights, and apologies for CEO Gary Parrott and Christopher Berry for not being here, but I think we had fun just the same. I think we really did, and hopefully we've given you guys some great insights to Jamaica Broilers Group and why you need to go out and buy some of that stock now. To our viewers, be sure to tune into our future investor forums. Make sure you follow us on social media. We share all things forum related on our official social media pages. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mayberry Investments Limited. Well, wise investors, remember, slow and steady wins the race. Keep safe, everyone, and goodbye.
The Mayberry Investments Limited Virtual Investor Forum has been the standard for investor education in Jamaica for decades, where top financial minds provide comprehensive insight into the market and ideal investment strategies and opportunities for our clients. Celebrating 37 years of excellence in investment banking. The Mayberry Virtual Investor Forum. Investing in Jamaica.